What's up, everyone? It's here. Today, we're going to be going over Hakari versus Geto. Honestly, this video could be short with how one-sided it is, in my opinion, but fuck it, we're doing a full-length video. Also, because I haven't seen anybody on YouTube do a full breakdown of this battle, so I'd kind of be like the first one, for real. And you only really see discussions on this battle on like Reddit and shit, but who the fuck wants to go in there? But yeah, so we're going to get into it. Also, first things first, we got to get out the way. Kenjaku's feats will not really apply to Geto. We're only using Geto's feats from like Volume 0 and Hidden Inventory from what we can see. Also, just because Kenjaku is like a whole different character technically, and his kind of strength and mastery of like curse energy and shit like that would be beyond whatever Geto had, so it wouldn't really apply to him. But yeah, just for the people out there who would get confused with that and try to use Kenjaku feats, it wouldn't really make sense to do that, but yeah. Since I've already covered Hakari pretty in depth on this channel, I'm going to start off with Geto's stats and abilities. So first things first, he has pretty bad showings against Yuta in Volume 0, and that's like his only major fight besides Toji, which he gets beat down. And the only fights he really wins is against like no-name sorcerers and the students from like Tokyo High. But yeah, so we're gonna have to try to determine to see how strong that Yuta was in Volume 0 to kind of get a gauge of how strong Geto is at the same time. From my interpretation and what I've seen, I believe that Yuta is weaker than like the Yuta we see during the main series and like the Culling games and obviously Shinjuku. It could be argued that his Rika is stronger since it's like the full thing and not like a leftover husk or whatever how it's described. But in like overall strength, I'd take a Yuta with better CE control, more copied curse techniques than a Yuta who barely understands his abilities with a stronger Rika, if that makes sense. So with that Geto being more relative to a Yuta without the training of Miguel in Africa, he's probably below physically characters like Kashimo and Ryu, who we see give Hakari and Yuta a pretty tough fight physically, and then we also see Kashimo giving Sukuna a little bit of the hands later on. He did get washed because of Sukuna's like very impressive curse technique, but he tried his best. Now lastly, for his jiu-jitsu skills, we know he has the curse spirit manipulation curse technique, which basically just allows him to take curse spirits under his control after they're either weakened by him or defeated. We know he has just basic curse energy reinforcement, stuff to make you stronger and faster, etc. And then we know he has a maximum technique, Maximum Uzumaki, which basically he can amalgamate his cursed spirits into one large destructive blast, essentially. But yeah, that's as far as we know, that's his full range of his capabilities. Now with Hakari, he was shown to be physically stronger than characters like Post Shibuya Yuji in his base form, and this Yuji was stated to be stronger than characters like Nanami and Todo, who are usually like considered to be the pinnacle of grade 1 sorcerers. He had a very impressive fight with Kashimo in which he kind of defeated him or bested him, depending on the way you could look at it, right? Who was one of those strongest calling game players. Also clashed with Arame without getting outright defeated, so Arame should be one of the strongest sorcerers in history, and Hakari sort of stalemated with them. It's kind of not clear what exactly happened, but it did seem like they were having a very competitive fight. And then Kashimo himself was also portrayed to be stronger than Ryu, depending on how you want to interpret certain things. I consider them to be more of relative fighters. And this Ryu gave Yuta a much tougher fight than Geto, and was even able to like one-shot punch Rika just out of the fight. Now onto Hakari's jiu-jitsu like prowess and skills. He has basic curse energy reinforcement like every other sorcerer. His curse energy is noted to have a rough sandpaper or like serrated kind of quality to it, which does deal extra damage like with regular hand-to-hand. We know he has his domain expansion Auto Death Gamble, which he can roll like slot machines till he gets a jackpot. Once he gets a jackpot, he gets infinite curse energy, and along with that, he basically gets RCT automatically done for him by his curse energy. And we know this state will last for 4 minutes and 11 seconds until the round is over, and then once the round is over, he can keep re-rolling his domain. Hakari is also shown he's able to make like binding vows on the fly. So he did that in the Kashimo fight with sacrificing his arm so that the rest of his body will survive and tank the blast. And I think that is about it. Now to get into the actual matchup, honestly, to say the least, Geto gets fucking dog walked and stomped out. I'm gonna be honest, he gets the shit beat out of him. And even if you give Geto the grace of having, 4,000 to 5,000 cursed spirits, at the end of the day, it's just going to make the fight last longer, but it won't change the result, like, at all. Because the fight really comes down to, can Geto put down Hakari? either in jackpot or in between, right? And with each one, it's going to be a very difficult and tall task because he can only use really maximum Uzumaki to really put Akari down. Because from what we've seen, he has nothing else that's really that destructive or could destroy Akari's entire brain in either state, right? Um, and even with maximum Uzumaki, I don't see him really just getting it off to where Akari's just gonna be standing there and then Geto's charging up maximum Uzumaki, he shoots it off, and then Hakari just fucking sits there and takes the shit. And even if we give him that, right? Potentially Hakari could just tank the entire thing. I don't know. All I'm saying is that would it just destroy his entire body? I don't think so. Probably not. I don't think it doesn't really have any or at least Geto's maximum Uzumaki doesn't have any like crazy feats like that to show that it would, in my opinion. It might just like fillet his entire front part of his body or something, but for the most part, Hakari probably could tank it, or at the end of the day, just dodge it and blitz Geto and just beat him down. To be honest, none of his cursed spirits really shown any impressive feats to where it's going to be helpful in the fight because he didn't pull them out against Yuta, and I feel like if they were going to be relevant to the fight, he probably would have used them instead of just getting beat. And resorting to his final maximum move, which would have removed all the cursed spirits from his arsenal. So clearly they were more useful being used in Maximum Uzumaki than on their own. So I don't think any of them are going to make a difference in this fight. I think all of them would probably get one shot by Hakari just in jackpot with like one punch. And honestly, I can make the argument that for like base to base, if Geto has like no cursed spirits and Hakari's in his base form, Hakari could probably still beat down Geto, and Geto can't really do anything about it. While Hakari's in jackpot, no, I think barely any damage would be taken, and any damage that is taken will just be healed off. And so, if it comes down to it, Geto has no RCT, he has no domain sure hit. Maximum Uzumaki's in move, he's gonna have to charge up and used up all of his curse spirits to get off. And if he does use that, and it doesn't kill Hakari right away, which it doesn't really show him capable of doing, there's really nothing else for Geto to kind of do in this fight. He'll basically be out of luck and out of moves at that point, which Hakari will take to his advantage and just defeat Geto. So basically, in summary, the fight comes down to, can Geto get a maximum Uzumaki off on Hakari? Firstly, and then also, will that maximum Uzumaki destroy Hakari's body? Two things that seem very improbable in my opinion, and a very tall task for him considering the disadvantage he has in stats. And also, Hakari will just has the advantage of outlasting him in the fight and the advantage in hand-to-hand combat, which Geto likes to engage in, but will be to his disadvantage in this instance. So in reality, he has very little win conditions against Hakari, and the one he does is very inconsistent or has a lack of kind of feats or evidence behind it to show they can't defeat him. So really, that's it. I honestly give this fight to Hakari mid to low diff 8 out of 10 times, to be honest. In my Is Hakari special grade video, a few people commented, and it kind of just showed to me they kind of missed the point of the video and just didn't really comprehend the message. And in my mind, Hakari is undoubtedly a special grade caliber fighter, right? And only isn't recognized as that because of the standards and rules of Jiu-Jitsu Society, which I also pointed out in the video. And to be honest, Hakari would be a majority of villains in the series. So that means like all of the disaster curses, besides maybe Mahito, because Mahito's a special case for a lot of characters. A lot of people just aren't able to defeat him, even though they're technically like stronger than him, quote unquote. They just have no way of defeating him to get around his hacks because it's a kind of specialized trait to have. But Hakari could potentially fight all 3 disaster curses at one time and possibly win. That might be a little bit of a stretch actually. I think 1-on-1 he could definitely defeat them. All 3 of them they may beat him, but like Geto would lose. A lot of the Culling Games players would lose. Higuruma's debatable, I think, just because of his hacks as well. His abilities are a little bit up in the air, I would say. I do think Hakari would probably defeat like Ryo. He would defeat Uro. He would defeat Kurushi. Majority of the Culling Games players. And it just seemed like kind of shocking to me. Someone thought that Hakari would lose to like Dagon of all people, and it's like, did you even really read the series? You know, it's like this is a character who's said to be on par with Yuta, and they're kind of shown to be like these are kind of like rivals of the Tokyo School, and you think this character would lose to Dagon. It's just I don't know. Do they even really like watch or read the series? I don't know. And you know, it's like when a character doesn't have a super flashy fighting style, like they're not shooting off like mega blasts, people just kind of like interpret them as weak for whatever reason, and it just doesn't really make any sense. You know, it's like there are different fighting styles for characters in series. Not every character can just fight the exact same with like huge blast, blow up, you know, whatever. And the whole point of Hakari's like fighting style is to show that he can be physically superior to most characters, and he will just outlast you in a fight. And this kind of shows to go like it counterbalances Yuta, who is a more flashy, like has a lot of abilities fighter, but has shown to like burn out of curse energy a lot faster, and he is forced to end fights a lot earlier unless he will just burn out and could potentially lose. And this is probably the reason why they're even compared in the first place, because of how opposing their fighting styles are. They are shown to be like two ends of a spectrum on like how characters can win battles and stuff like that. Yuta has to kind of go out the gate full, you know, all of his moves, summoning Rika and stuff like that. Hakari just has to outlast you, just open up his domain, tank all of the damage, and then just kind of keep rolling his domain as long as the fight takes, because eventually the person he's fighting will just run out of curse energy. But yeah, I think that's it for this video. I want to say I appreciate all the support in the last video. It did kind of blow up. I was pretty unexpected for me. I didn't expect to get those many views, but appreciate all the people who subscribed, who may be returning from that video to watch this one. I appreciate all the support, all the positive and respectful comments. I appreciate the likes, all that. But yeah, so have a good day.